Okay, what's going on, guys? I made a tier list earlier, and I thought it got some recognition, so I'd like to go through making my tier list, and explain kind of why I put them in certain spots on my tier list, so that you guys can understand where I'm coming from with my foresight, how I understand the meta, how I understand how good characters could be, or how they are, a few things about matchups, and yeah, we'll just take it from there. So first off, I'll start off from the bottom to the top. I feel like working our way from the bottom, I can explain why your character is lacking and what your character needs to get better and why it's not higher. So first off, I'm going to start with the worst character in the game, which is Kirby. Kirby has a lot of gimmicks. Got some dash attack stuff, got some ledge play that isn't very consistent. Bad overall losing matchups in situations where you think, like, why doesn't Kirby have this? Like, he doesn't have any air mobility, doesn't have any recovery, despite having, like, 5 jumps. Gets edge-routed very, very easily. His moves don't work. His up B has, like, 4 times it activates and deactivates. Has no real combo strings. Has no approach in neutral. Usually, if you're a character like, Marth or Sheik or whatever, you can just like fair and neutral, and that's usually like a fine, safe option. You can spam back airs with Puff and Sheik, and that's also fine too. Kirby doesn't really have that. You can't wall off with back air because his back air is trash. His fair isn't very good. It's very gimmicky, and you can just like up smash it out of shield against most characters with it, or just like shield grab him. He can't really flatten like a pancake like most characters can against like I don't know, Sheik, which is like a really big detriment, especially against some of the like top tiers. He really gets invalidated by not hitting as strong of a punish. Simple as that. So I'm gonna put Kirby in last. I'm fine to dispute it against the next character, which is Bowser. Now Bowser does have some gimmicky stuff too. He's got some up B to ledge stuff. He's got some ledge gimmicks. He can do some fire breath stuff to cover some angles. If you're playing against like a Sheik, you can do flame breath to cover that. You can do that against Falcon, Marth, whoever. He's whatever. He's not very great. He's kind of like a sandbag. He's kind of the equivalent of a sandbag character, where he doesn't really have enough advantage to make him a very solid character against, like, I don't know. His punish isn't as good as like Ness's, and Ness doesn't. I mean, I'll get into Ness later, but Bowser's punish game is like 2 or 3 strong hits that are like mostly reads. He can wall himself off a little bit, but you can just wait for it and beat him out. He's better than Kirby, where Kirby, you will just flat out beat it or win the trade or whatever. Bowser, you can fair neutral. You can do some back air stuff. His back air sends out like a Sheik fair angle, which is quite nice. His down tilt's pretty bad. He does have some he has some grab release stuff that's kind of cool. He does have some tech chasing options against, I think, the Spaceys. That's really about it. His up B and his ledge stuff is really all that you need to know to like make him not the worst character. He does have some stuff on Yoshi's. I've heard Scar himself say that Bowser Falcon on Yoshi's is 50-50. I think that's a load of hubbub, if you will. But that's just my 2 cents. I think Falcon bodies Bowser's so bad. Next, we'll go off to the next character, Pichu. Now, Pichu's actually not that bad of a character. He does have like an invincible down smash. He does have Nair. That's pretty good. It's actually quite large. It's a really good combo tool. Sends off really well. His throws aren't too bad. Getting a grab is pretty awful, I will admit. Which is a struggle just for how like gimmicky that character is, how terrible like joke of a character is. Has some chain grabs against what, like Falco Fox on FD. Otherwise, you're losing every interaction in neutral. You're losing every single trade, which is bad enough. If your character loses every trade and has no range, you probably aren't doing anything. Bowser can get a trade off, which is quite nice, but Pichu doesn't have that. All of his, obviously, you know, Pichu's gimmick is his abilities and moves do damage to himself, which really does suck. I would put him higher than the next character, but he doesn't have that, like, X factor. He doesn't have, like, maybe Pichu could be used for, like, a stock or two if you don't know what Pichu's doing, but after a while, you realize, like, okay, I can just crouch cancel everything. Okay, I can just, you know, shield let him spam moves. He'll damage himself, and you won't have to do anything. His sphere is alright. His up air does, like, what? 3%, 2% if staled. That is such a... And it sends at such a horrible angle. It has, I think, very high set knockback. It's not permanent set knockback, but the damage scaling is, like, atrocious. His up smash is alright, but the range on it is really bad. Chances are you're probably not comboing anything into it. I think you can do down throw, up smash for a few things. His F smash can poke shield sometimes, and it's very funny to land, because a lot of people don't know how to angle shield or light shield or not get hit by it, apparently. So I'll put him at G. That's as high as I'll put him. I could justify him maybe in F, but I think the other characters can pull their weight for a few things. Which leads me to the next character, Zelda. I think Zelda is a little better than Pichu, has more killing power. The edge guarding situation is a little poor. If you're playing in someone like a Falcon, his up B, he can sweet spot it, but he has to his legs will go above the ledge, and you can poke that with Fair and Bear. She does have some cool stuff with air dodge. Her up B's angled, it's not that bad. She usually can recover anywhere. You can usually cover it though. I think neutral B is invincible as well. It's a good get off me tool. You could do like neutral B out of shield. Her nair sends at an awful angle. Her up air doesn't really do anything. It's not a kill move either. I'm really just putting her in G because her Fair and Bear are like so strong. You can poke with it. Her weight is really cool. Her air dodge mobility makes it look like she has like 3 jumps in total. Her F tilt's not bad as a combo tool. Her dash attack is actually like not too bad. Her down tilt's pretty bad. Her down air will literally kill you before it can kill anybody else, unless you're like landing on stage with it, or you're like on edge guarding. But even then, like I don't know how you ever get spiked by that. Terrible move. So yeah, I'll put Zelda down here. Obviously, if we include sharing her with Sheik, a whole different story. She's clearly like way higher, but for the sake of like solo maining, Zelda's down here. Also her matchups are not very good. She does have she does have some stuff against a few of the characters above her, but nothing against floaties. She's terrible. Spacies, maybe if a Zelda knows what she's doing, she knows what to do. I have lost to a Zelda before, so I know what it's like. But I will not give the benefit of a doubt to say that Sheik's any higher, or that Zelda's any higher than this. Okay, now for the next tier. Now this was kind of close. I didn't know where to put this character because he does have some stuff. He does have some top player representation, but I think that's just a top player being a top player. I don't think he's actually very good. It's Mewtwo. His dash dance is so terrible. His grounded movement is kind of gimmicky. He doesn't have anything that like really hits in front of him that's like safe. His F tilt's okay, but his tail is a hurt box, so you can trade with it all day. You can crouch cancel him. You can out crouch cancel him, I should say. You can crouch cancel his down tilt. His projectile's okay. You can do like some shadow ball cancel stuff. But the main reason I'm putting him above Sheik is because he does have stuff against some combo-y characters, kind of like Falcon or DK, with his double jump canceled fairs, double jump canceled up airs. His down air is really, really bad. You can combo into it, but it's kind of not reliable. It's pretty bad. His weight is really bad. He can't crouch cancel anything. He'll die to an up smash from Pikachu or Fox like relatively early. I think Bowser's up air kills him from the like top platform at like 50. Despite how big he is relatively light. I think he's lighter than Fox, and I want to say he's lighter than Kirby in NTSC. I don't know for sure, but he's really light. He's ridiculously light, deceptively light. So I will put him in F. I don't think his matchup spread is very, very good. His range is awful. If his tail was disjointed, different story. If his tail was disjointed, I could see him as high as D. Honestly, I could see him as high as D. But his tail being part of him and not a disjoint is terrible. The moves hitting are terrible. The knockback is terrible. He does have some like up B cancel shenanigans. That's just movement gimmicks. It doesn't really make your character better. It just makes you like more flashy. It's not really gonna win you a game. He does have that thing on Battlefield where he can do the side B gimmicky stuff. I wouldn't put Mewtwo any higher than F. There's really no reason to. Now this next character, I'm saying this wholeheartedly because I've played this character for so long. I have no faith in this character. This character has no good matchups at all. He has some even matchups, which I'll get into in a different video. But I don't think he's any higher than this. Just because I think his disadvantage is so bad, and that is Ganondorf. He will chump check every player. Usually, if you're a new player, or even a player that just plays casually, you'll think Ganon's like probably always around mid tier. He's like the best of the worst of the best, or whatever. Usually around like, I'm not gonna spoil it, but he's usually about here. He's usually like later on we'll see him. You could relatively put him around here on the tier list. No, I don't think so. I think he's terrible. He loses to Cape. He loses to people who can get around his relatively slow moves. Yes, he does have a strong fair. Yes, he does have a strong back air. Yes, his up air is quick. I think if you could just wait. If you wait out a Ganondorf, he has no game plan. I think someone like Mewtwo can put the work on him. I think someone like Zelda can outpoke him at times with his head. Ganondorf's out of shield options are like up air. He could up B out of shield too, but you're not, unless they're at like kill percent, you're not really doing anything. You could send them off stage too, but like, they'd have to be like at 110 and like pressuring the behind your shield. And chances are if you're playing against like a Peach or a Fox or even a Mario, they'll like drill you and you'll just be stuck and you can't do anything. And they have an immediate option right after that, or they can just back away. If you're fighting someone like a top tier or a high tier that has a something like a fair, like a 2-hit fair or a 2-hit Nair, like a Falcon or a Marth, you have no chance. You have to wait it out. You have to rely on trades. Ganondorf's F-tilt is really good at handling those things, so I can talk a little bit more about that. But I don't think he relatively wins against a lot of matchups. I think a lot of people realize like how to beat Ganondorf as time goes on, and I think we're in a meta where people know how to beat him. They know his disadvantage. If he pokes you, he's done. If he loses a trade, if he gets outpoked, he can get tech chased, he can get chain grabbed. There are so many things wrong with Ganondorf. His disadvantage is terrible. His recovery is awful. You can hit him out of down B. He is atrocious. So I think Ganondorf is this low. And I know that's pretty shocking for a lot of people, but that's just... I've seen this character. I know his bad matchups. I know who he can beat. I know who he can combo. And another thing is his combos aren't very good. They're all reads. They're all like tech chase reads. You gotta like... He has like a lot of non-true stuff. He has some chain grabs against some top tiers, or against some high tiers, but or like some 2-hit true combos, I guess. But I don't see Ganon any higher than this. This might be Cope. Say whatever you want. I think he's terrible. My next character is Ness. Now, I guess you guys don't realize how bad I think of Ganondorf when you see Ness above Ganon. But I do think Ness does have some stuff. His double jump canceling stuff is really, really good. His fair is deceptively good. He has up air strings. He has, I think he has a chain grab on Spaceys. His neutral isn't too bad against someone like Ganon. He can really outpoke him. He has multi-hit moves that Ganondorf can't deal with. He can deal with everything until he gets hit. He can wall you out with fair. He can wall you out with back airs. His reads on platforms are really, really good. On Yoshi's, he's really, really good. On FD, he does struggle. I think his bear neutral is pretty bad. He can get outpoked by Ganondorf on that kind of stage, or outpoked by, like, a Zelda on that kind of stage. But I do think with platforms, he is a lot better of a character. He can edge cancel stuff. He can really mix up his movement, which will just, like, completely outbait an opponent and leave them vulnerable. He can get down kind of fine. The only thing that I really think sucks is his recovery is, like, terrible. It's really predictable. You can edge guard him really well. That's about it. I don't really have much else to say about Ness because I really think that Nesses are getting better with the double jump cancel stuff, and that leads to like more combo game, more pressure, poking a lot better. And when you start to get comfortable with that kind of stuff, then reads start to fall into play. And I think his punish with reads is really, really, really strong. His smash attacks are pretty bad, to be honest. But he's kind of just an aerial character. Even though he's stubby with his aerials, he's really, really good. He's really solid. He does struggle against swordies or like people with like disjoints, but I think all the characters below do as well. And I think what he makes up for with his punish game and his pressure is more than fine to put him here. The next person I'm going to put up here is because he is a kind of character. I will put Samus up here. Or not Samus, what am I doing? Lol. Roy up here. Roy is a character where he is very anti-meta. His punish is very spacey-oriented, so if you're playing against a Fox or Falco, you're probably going to do just fine. A lot of his moves set up so that he... Like, well, I shouldn't say all of his moves, but his main moves, like down tilt, will set you upwards. And characters that swing down a lot, like Peach with Fair, or Marth with Fair, or F Smash, or like a... I don't know, a Doc, you can poke with down tilt a lot. His tilts are pretty bad. Otherwise, his F tilt's pretty bad. His Fair is pretty bad. Or, sorry, not Fair. F tilt is pretty bad. His aerials are like wet noodle. We all know this. Fair, up air. People have realized that you can do strings off of these kind of things, and I do these kind of things. He does have very gimmicky links where you can do like Fair into up air, and just like do like the weak hits over and over below platform on like something like Yoshi's, FOD. You could do Pokemon or whatever. And he does have chain grabs on the Spaceys. They're not really that great, but he can combo a Falcon. He can combo like a Donkey Kong. He can combo a Ganondorf. He does lose to crouch canceling really hard because his moves don't have that great of knockback, but I think that's understandable when you realize, relative to his spot on the tier list, I should say, that his, what he does have, if you play well enough, you can do well with. And I do think it can be shown against Spaceys. I do think his matchup into Spaceys isn't really that bad. Against someone like Yoshi who can double jump armor him, he's pretty bad. People like Samus or Sheik or Peach or Ice Climbers really do invalidate him as a character with crouch cancel, but I don't think that's like that surprising. The other characters, like all these characters, have bad matchups. I'm just saying Roy is the best of the low tiers. Yeah, that's all I have to say about him. Against mid tiers, he really does struggle. I don't think he does beat any mid tier, even relatively close. We're gonna see next. I'm gonna put the next character on the tier list, but this character really does beat Roy, and that is Link. Link invalidates Roy so badly with projectiles. Roy cannot deal with projectiles. His throw is terrible. He has no setups after a throw or projectile. He has no way to deal with the projectile either. And the reason I feel and so that's kind of what I think of Roy. But now to talk about Link. Link is funny because he's a very anti-meta character. You can see him do well against Peach and Puff. He does well into Marth, notably. If you watch like top tier Melee, you'll know that like Armada played Save State and did pretty well. Or Save State did really well. Aklo has been showing what he can do with Link. There hasn't really been many top links lately that are like solo maining, which is fair because this character is not very good. He's kind of gimmicky. He's kind of slow. He does have like setups. The thing Link does have is setups. He can wall characters out. He can play his own gameplay for a little while. But as soon as he's pressured, he has no out of shield option besides up B, which can be baited very easily. He's a perfect combo weight. He's like a Falcon weight, and he doesn't really make up for it with his projectiles. Like he is the definition of a zoner character, but his zoning isn't like oppressive enough to make you think that he beats anybody above him. Do I think he beats anybody above him? Not really. I think he's kind of in a weird spot where, yes, he does have good matchups into Marth. Yes, he does have good matchups into Peach. But he doesn't... Nobody can really look you dead in the face and say, like, he beats him. He just walls him off and plays a game plan that these characters struggle to deal with. They can still deal with it. It's just hard. You have to work a little bit. Sorry that a top tier has to work against a low tier. Or even a low mid tier. I do think he does invalidate characters like Mewtwo with Bomb, Ness. This is like down B absorption thing. Doesn't work on any of Link's projectiles because he only inhales like energy things, like a Shadow Ball. He does wall off Ganon really hard. He does beat Roy super hard. Again, Roy is so bad into this character. And so I'll put Link here. It's not that he's bad. Like, yes, he is bad. But he does have stuff. And I'm confident he does have stuff, but he doesn't have enough stuff. He doesn't have enough stuff as the next character I'm going to put on this tier list, which is Game & Watch. I think Game & Watch, his Fair is really good. His gameplay is very warped in that he will space you gimmickly with like fair down tilt to make you think you're safe after hitting the credit card like fair thing. His back air doesn't really do anything. His up air is really, really bad compared to something like in Ultimate or in Brawl. Even he's not very good. I get those are different games, but I'm just saying like he is not as strong as he is in any other title. In this game, he doesn't have a very good recovery. It's very, very linear and it's very like telegraphed. Yes, it's fast, but it's not a good out of shield option. It's not like when you're Game Watch, you have to be ready to tech, and if you tech like after recovering the ledge, he can't really like go anywhere besides like maybe hit you with like a back air or something, and then he has to like try and get back to stage again. He's really lightweight. He's I want to say like 65 units or something like that. 60 units, 65 units, something like that. He's really light. I think he's the third lightest character in the game, behind Puff and Pichu. So he does die really, really early. Like someone like Fox can poke his shield, which is another issue, is that his shield is so bad. You can poke it using like down tilt with most of these characters, like Marth, Peach, Samus, Sheik. I bet you even Falcon can poke him. I've seen my Ganondorf has poked Game Watches through the bottom of their shield with down tilt. Obviously, their shield has to be like an M&M, but his shield isn't very good. When people realize how good Crouch Cancel is, which they have, they will realize that Game Watch is not that bad of a character. He does have counterplay. He is a counterplay character. He doesn't have like an awful matchup spread. He doesn't do very good into like Peach. He doesn't do very well into Samus. Doesn't do very well into Sheik. And he doesn't really beat anybody above him. He does hold his own against Link. I don't know who wins that matchup, honestly. It's probably around even, which is fine. I wouldn't say he's bad. I wouldn't say Game Watch is bad. He's just not someone I would really invest time into, and he's kind of limited by like what his character's flaws. Like a player, if you're a player like a NES player, yes, he has flaws. You can push this character outside of his flaws. Game & Watch mains and Game & Watch players are limited by his flaws more than a NES is, but Game & Watch is just a better character. NES can move faster than Game & Watch can every day of the week. Game & Watch's moves are just a little better. His Nair is a really good kill move. It hits really far. His grab game is actually really, really good. He can chain grab a few characters. He does have kill setups off of grab. He does have really good kill power. It's just he's a little slow, and his gimmicks really... They're not good gimmicks. They are not good gimmicks. He's very slow. He doesn't have any, like... He doesn't have a great combo game. It's okay, but it's not great. That's what I have to say about Game & Watch. He deserves to be like in the middle of the pack, or a little below the middle of the pack, because he doesn't have like a strong gimmick that really sets him apart from anybody else. But this next character does have a gimmick that does set him apart, and this is where we start to get into characters that have like useful gimmicks. And that's Young Link. I think Young Link is so good for the purpose of he does really well into floaties. He does really well into Mewtwo, into Luigi, in my opinion, Peach, in my opinion, Ice Climbers, in my opinion, Puff, in my opinion. He does struggle against the most common character, Spaceys, but I don't think that character representation into what you'll see the most in bracket really should influence Young Link's placement. I think if you put 10 Foxes, if you put every single character on this list and you run 10 of them, Young Link does just fine. He has a pretty good matchup into... Again, like I said, the floaty characters. He does have some stuff against some of the mid-tiers, like the Marios. He does pretty fine against. The heavies he can combo pretty well. He can do like little short up air strings. His down air is a really, really good kill move. He has bomb setups, of course. His boomerang is really, really good. I don't really know much about his arrow, and if he has setups with arrow, I don't think so. I think that's pretty bad. His back air is really fast. He's a very technical character. If you ever watch a Young Link, look how technical they are. You will be stunned how fast you can make a zoning character work. And he's in a weird spot where he is a zoner with his projectile game, and then he's a stubby rushdown character in neutral once he starts to go in. And his mix is very interesting. I wish I put more time into Young Link more than like a lot of other characters, because I think he is really, really interesting. It just sucks that his matchups and his out of shield game is really, really not great. His pressure is pretty gimmicky. His moves are just a little too weak. His down tilt is pretty slow for like popping characters up or spiking them. He can't edge guard very, very well. His grab is pretty bad. His throw setups aren't very good. His combo game is a little lacking. When you talk about, like, off of a grab. So I think right here is just fine. Again, I think because of character representation, I have to put him here. He could be higher. I think he could be as high as top of D, maybe even low C, if people really push this character. But for right now, I'm gonna put him in E. I don't watch much Young Link gameplay. I don't know much about his matchups past what I know from just general knowledge. I don't know if he has true combos in out of throw or anything like that. So that's just my knowledge on him. So I'll put him in E, top of E. For the new tier, I think this character should be higher, but for right now, I'm putting him here because of representation of other characters. And also, overall matchup spread, and that is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is a very, very good character into some of the most common characters, like Fox, Falco, Falcon. He has a terrible time into Sheik. I don't know if you guys remember Leffen playing that one DK. He was down like 2-0 against him as Fox. I went Sheik, reverse 3-0'd. And I think that's Donkey Kong's biggest flaw is, like, when he plays a bad matchup, he is really bad. Like, I think he does really bad into Peach, Puff, Sheik. Maybe Ice Climbers. I think he gets chain grabbed by a lot of characters too. I think Dr. Mark has like a pretty good grab game on him. He can't really deal with pressure that well besides like up out of shield. If you put him against a Samus, I bet you he doesn't really do that well. I don't think it's like that bad. I think it might be 50-50 for like Donkey Kong for a lot of matchups when you start to get like into his up B shenanigans and his back air walling, and you can get off like a weak nair. I saw a weak hit nair over the weekend with Donkey Kong. That looked really, really solid. His punish game isn't too bad. It's just a lot of cargo throw, like, combos that are okay. There has been a DK renaissance lately, which a lot of people will talk about. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm just going to tell you he's good, he's solid. He definitely can do his stuff against, like, all these bottom characters, too. But I don't think he absolutely beats any of them, like, super, super hard. Like, he can't really do his cargo stuff against Zelda. He can't really do his cargo stuff against, like, Mewtwo. He could try. You can do it against Ganondorf. You can do it against Ness, Link, Young Link. Game Watch probably just kill outright with up air. And he's more like a spacing character where, like, you wall with back air, you hit like a goofy move and into grab when they mess up their approach or their pressure. If you watch a lot of Donkey Kong plays at top level like Junebug, you'll notice that Donkey Kong loves to dash dance and just wait for you to be proactive in reacting to what a Falcon will do in neutral, what a Fox will do in neutral. And that's where you can start to go. He can't initiate. His initiate is so bad. You have to wait for them to hit your shield, or you crouch cancel on them, and then you get a grab, and you go from there. I can't really justify him any higher than this because his matchup spread isn't too great. His approach isn't too great. You can camp him out pretty badly with a lot of characters. Like you can wall him out with Marth, Yoshi, even Falcon if you just wall him with back air a bunch. I don't know what else he can do. Peach, like Sheik could wall you out. Like, she could camp you, and that's kind of like, what do you do? And you gotta think, like, against all characters, not just the ones that are the most represented. You gotta think about all these characters. I think Link and the Young Link, like, the two Links could hold their edge against him. I think he does have a bad time against them, but I don't think having a bad matchup against a character below you in a tier list is, like, necessarily shifting your tier list to say, like, oh, well, if he loses to Link and Young Link, he should be down here, right? Or, like, down here. Like, no, he's good, he's solid. He has good matchup spreads. Just some matchups are pretty bad. And that's as much as I'll say about that. Now for the next character. I didn't know who to put here. My brain tells me that I have to put this character here because I can't justify him any higher right now because there's no representation of him, and that's Mario. I originally had Donkey Kong higher than this character and the next character, but Mario's matchup spread is just, like, fine all around. He's got, like, from top to bottom, like, 6-4 against all these characters, probably. Has some chain grabs against maybe some mid-tiers and some weird weights and mid-tiers. He does... he doesn't invalidate anybody either. He's just a very, very solid character. And his lack of representation is why I put him in D. His back air is really good. His movement's really, really good with wave dashing. You can do, like, wave dash back air that's really, really strong. His nair is really good. He can't really cover ledge and recovery options very, very well. He just kind of has to guess with what he can do for a lot of characters. Like, if you're playing against a Fox or a Falco, which are relevant characters, you can't really just, like, cape them. You kind of gotta, like, read it. Or unless you go, like, in their face and do it. But if they recover far away, like, all you can do is, like, reset for a punish and try and get something off that. Which can be difficult, can be tricky. And his neutral isn't, like, he doesn't have a Destroy of anything. He doesn't have, like, a Marth sword where he can just, like, I don't know, pop you up with up tilt. Or, yeah, he's very anti-cheese character. He's a very anti-cheese character. The only thing that cheeses people is cape. But I think when you think of, like, Link's up B, you know, Donkey Kong's cargo throw, I don't know, like Samus up B, his gimmicks are pretty small. He's not known for his cape. He's known for being, like, a quick, flashy character that does, like, a little bit of combo game. His drill's really, really good for pressure. He can actually fast up his aerials, like, drill into up air, drill into nair. He's really quick with his jab grab is really, really good. His jabs are also just really, really fast. His tilts are pretty bad, except for up tilt. Up tilt's all right. It doesn't have, like, Mario's up tilt doesn't really have a consistent hitbox is what I'll say. It doesn't have something that makes you want to spam it in neutral. You kind of got to wait for, like, a Falcon to nair in. You can't just, like, spam it willy-nilly. And if it hits their shield, you're kind of just, like, boned. And they can just grab you and punish you. His out of shield is alright. You can just nair or up B. If you up B the wrong kind of character and they crouch cancel or technical floor or something, like, you're getting punished for doing up B or even nair. His nair is all again, it's all right on startup, but it's nothing crazy. I have seen a lot of good Mario clips on, like, Twitter, out of my friend group. I used to be a Mario main. I had a Mario main in my tournaments, but he's alright. I know how good he can be. I know his matchup spread is not that bad. He doesn't do bad into Marth. He doesn't do bad into Fox or Space or Falco or whatever. He might struggle against Puff, but if you get, like, one read with an F smash, he's pretty good. His smash attacks are also really, really good. F smash, down smash, up smash are all really, really solid. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about Mario. I can't justify him any higher because he doesn't have any gimmicks. He doesn't have any, like, crazy winning matchups. Like, maybe, like, Donkey Kong has a better matchup spread against, like, 2 characters, and then, like, does really bad against matchup spread for the floaties. Mario doesn't really have that. He just kind of does, like, 6-4 all around the board, in my opinion. That's why I have to justify him here. The next character, I really didn't know where to put him because I can't... He's so bad into good characters. He's so bad into good characters, and that's Pikachu. Now, what I mean by that is, if you play a Peach, Ice Climbers, Sheik, Puff, he does so bad. He does so bad. This is another thing where, like, character representation really matters. He does all right, and like, 55, 45, maybe, like, 55, like, 50-50 or whatever, into Spacies. He can gimmick a Falco with up air. His out-of-shield game is really, really good. He has notoriously beaten Marth. Obviously, we see Axe. It's hard to bring up Pikachu and not bring up Axe. He did have, like, a winning record on Marth for a very, very long time. I don't know if that's true anymore because Zane has had his number. And I have to go off of recent results. I don't know what Pikachu can do. And it feels like if Axe doesn't know what to do, Pikachu doesn't know what to do. Pikachu players would probably just get stuck. And they probably don't know what to do against... not that they don't know what to do. But it's no longer seen as, like, a 65-35. It's maybe, like, 55-45 or maybe a 50-50 nowadays. People notoriously think that Marth's 50-50s are, like, losing matchups, and that's probably no truer than people who play Marth into Pikachu. Pikachu doesn't validate a lot of low tiers, like Ganondorf. I think he does really well into Ness. I think he does really well into Roy, Zelda, Mewtwo. Against the mid-tiers, he's alright. I think he just has a bunch of 50-50 matchups, but he does... I was really considering putting him down here, but people might think I'm on drugs if I say that, because they'll see, like, but Axe is so good. He always gets top 8 or top 64 or whatever. Well, whenever Axe plays Nice Climbers or whenever he plays a Sheik, he doesn't really do well, and he has to resort to a secondary. And I think if you're solo maining, that's what you should think about in the character. You shouldn't think that Link is B tier because he covers your bad matchups Fox. Like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you're a solo. This is for solo mains. If you are talking about a character specific, Pikachu should honestly probably be down here with how much, like, 7-3s he has. But because of character representation with Fox and Falco and Marth, I will put him in D. He also does have stuff on Falcon. I think he has a lot of setups. The Mario Bros can chain grab him, which is really funny. I don't know. I really am interchangeable about, like, this whole thing. Like, I think Donkey Kong could be up here, could be down here. But for right now, to upset, like, the least amount of people, I will put Pikachu here. My brain is telling me down here, but that just seems weird. I can't do that right now. And I can't do it with Axe's results, especially with the Fox Representation is going to be the big thing with Pikachu. I understand his up smash is really good. His recovery is amazing. But if people just played floaties more, he wouldn't be that good of a character. He really wouldn't. And I think people have fallen into this trap that, like, if you do well into Spaceys, like, you're a good character. And that's just not true. That's just not how Melee is. Melee is a game of 26 characters, and you have to think of all 26 characters. And Pikachu doesn't do well against, like, 4 of them. And awful! Unwinnable, in my opinion. So, that's how I think about Pikachu. His aerials are all really, really solid. He's really stubby. His grab game's alright. He does have punishes that are really convenient. He does have, like, all-around solid moves. His tilts are okay. But there's nothing, like, crazy. He's not a crazy character. He's just fine. His up air really carries him, I think. The up air really validates Ganon. His down smash is really, really good for poking shields on, like, heavies like Falcon or characters that have, like, a tall shield like Marth and Donkey Kong. Samus can get poked. Which should lead me into my next character segue, which is actually Samus. Samus can get poked to the bottom of the shield, I should say. Samus is a good character, and I think has another problem where she does have the same issues as Pikachu, where she does have a lot of 7-3s. I do think her overall matchup spread isn't that bad. She doesn't do that bad into Puff. She doesn't really do that bad into Peach. She doesn't really do that bad. She actually does really well into Ice Climbers. I think that's like one of Ice Climbers' worst matchups. But I didn't think Samus deserves to be here because she doesn't have X Factor outside of Spaceys. I think she actually struggles a lot against characters that aren't Spaceys. Her approach game is kind of weird. She's a good spacing character, but she's not a very good combo character into like Sheik, into Peach, into Puff. She just kind of like wins neutral a little bit, and that's kind of it. She does beat, like, in my opinion, she does beat all the characters below her. Maybe not Pikachu. I do think she does do fairly well into Mario. Donkey Kong, I have no idea. She probably beats Donkey Kong. She does do alright into Link, Young Link, Game & Watch. Beats all these characters, bar maybe Ganon. That might be 50-50, maybe 55-45 for Samus. Maybe just, you know, not that great. And then these ones are irrelevant. She has a lot of stuff. She has her jab gimmicks. She does have F-tilt gimmicks. She has her crouch cancel, or not crouch cancel stuff. Well, she does have crouch cancel gimmicks. She can do like crouch cancel down smash or crouch cancel down tilt. Her grab game is really interesting, where you can do tech chase on a platform. You can do like down air follow ups to set up your combos on like Battlefield. If you do like up throw down air on like a Falcon or something, like you can follow where they roll and set up a combo that way. Her neutral is pretty good. Her tilts are all right. Although they're not disjointed, they're pretty fast. I think they all come out on the same frame, if I'm not mistaken. I think like frame 8 or frame 7 or something like that. Her up B is really, really solid. Obviously, if you're going to talk about Samus, you have to talk about her up B. Her recovery isn't really that bad. She has Tether, she has Bomb. She can really mix up recovery and be like really hard to beat. Marth has a good time beating her, but I don't think it's unwinnable. I think she has winnable matchups throughout the entire game. I think a Samus could win a major, but I don't feel like she's good enough to be in C. I think she's just fine right here. Just because her matchup spread is like pretty good overall. But I think Sheik does really, really bad to keep her out. Peach can do pretty well into her. Samus can do pretty well into her. I think Yoshi also does really well into her too. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Samus. She's alright. I don't really have any reason to justify her any higher. I would probably just keep her here. Maybe one spot higher. I could never justify her in C, I don't think. I think that's pretty far-fetched. But as for the last character in D, I would put Luigi. He does do atrocious into people who camp, and camp well. Like a campy Samus, or not campy, yeah, campy Samus. A campy Jigglypuff, a campy Marth, a campy Peach. Luigi has no game plan. Campy Puff, especially, like that's a no-brainer. If a Puff is ledge stalling, like what do? You're just screwed. His Shine really messes him up. But his punish game is really, really good, and that's kind of where, like, I'm kind of iffy on, like, I could switch these two around. Only these two, I couldn't put Luigi down here. I don't think that's fair to him. I think his neutral's pretty good. He does have, like, some really weird jank, like, misfire, but I wouldn't factor that into, like, a winning or losing a matchup. I don't think that's something that I really think of him swinging a matchup, in my opinion. A few moves invalidate him off. Like, he is a sitting duck off stage. He should just be dead if he's off stage, in my opinion. Obviously, he can tech a wall, but if Amar's down tilting, like just poking him at ledge, or like someone's going out to just like hit him, like a Falcon with a knee or a stomp or something, like he's done. He does well against all these characters. He probably beats all these characters. I honestly don't know. He's just fine. He deserves to be here. He doesn't have how do I put it? Like, Sheik is a terrible character for this matchup spread type mindset because Sheik is just such a mid-tier killer that the problems that Luigi has with Sheik are the same problems that Mario would have, that Samus would have, that Pikachu would have, Donkey Kong would have, and so on and so forth. So I don't really talk about him anymore. His tilts are okay, his smash attacks are okay. His movement on the ground is really nice. His aerial mobility is alright. He's very gimmicky in the air, of course, you know, with his fast airs. His down air can send in like 4 different angles and spike. Grab game's okay. Chain grabs, you know, he's alright. He's okay. And again, his losing matchups aren't like the worst thing in the world. I don't think he has any unwinnable matchups. As for a character that I think can hold his own and doesn't have enough representation, I think the next character I'd put on here is Doc. Now, Doc is a character where I could see him being even higher. I think he could be low B with representation, but because he's such a lame character, and because characters like Falcon exist, characters like Sheik exist, there's really no reason for Doc. He has chain grabs, he has a pretty bad recovery, but if you're playing neutral, I think he's fine. His punch game is really, really good. He has a lot of, like, labbed out kill confirms. He is a really solid character. His pillow's really, really good. His jab is, like, notoriously slow, but I think his jab is, like, deceptively good. His tilts are really, really good. Yeah, his smash attacks are really, really good. His wave dash is really, really good. He doesn't have, like, any unwinnable matchups, in my opinion, against any of the cast. I think he could beat a lot. I think it could beat a lot of characters, too. I think there's a world I can see where he beats Falco, where he beats Fox. I could see him beating Yoshi. I could see him beating Falcon in a world, maybe. That's kind of Falcon's maybe a stretch. But I could see it. I could see it at least 50-50. I don't really say much more about him. His lack of representation probably keeps him from being higher. But I haven't seen any representation that keeps him from being lower either. The Dr. Marios that I've seen and played all do fine, and they all hold their own, and they all put in work against all of these low tiers. And I don't want to say invalidates, but he's got stuff on these characters that these characters don't have on Doc. And so I'll put him right here for right now. Now, another character that I want to put on here in the C category is a character that I feel like people don't play properly. And I don't know why they don't play him properly, but it's Ice Climbers. I do think Ice Climbers deserve to be right here. I could see Ice Climbers being a little higher, maybe B tier, but for right now, I'll put her here. Her handoffs are really, really good. Her neutral with back airs and her grab game is really, really good. Her broadcast game is really, really good. Having 2 characters puts you in more hit stun while you're hitting them. And I think that's a thing that people don't really utilize enough. Where like people realize how good Sheik's needles were for doing the Sheik needle mine stuff. Ice Climber should be able to do with her Nana. They are really, really good. The handoff stuff, I honestly don't know that much about. I don't know if you can get out of it. I don't know. I hear when you get grabbed, you should just be dead. I don't know how true that is. But I will say the punish game, because of it, I'm going to say it's broken. It's crazy. Wobbling. If you can do the handoff stuff, I don't know why wobbling isn't unbanned. It's just the same thing with extra steps. I get it, it's easier, and the barrier to entry is, like, raised a little higher, and you got to work for it a little more. But if you're good at doing the handoff stuff, and you're good at doing the wobbling stuff, I don't know why wobbling isn't unbanned. You either unban wobbling, and you leave the handoffs, or you just ban the character flat out. And that's why I think Ice Climbers is right here. Because of their punish game. They do have awful matchups, don't get me wrong. I think Samus, Peach, and Puff invalidate this character, but that's all I can really talk about this character right now is the grab game, and the grab game is very fickle because you gotta know where you stand on the wobbling bias. And their matchup is really, really good because of it on all these characters below them. Same thing with Doc, kind of invalidates everybody below them. Not invalidates, but like beats everybody below them or goes even at least. And does fine against a good chunk of the top tiers or high tiers, and yeah. What else do you want me to say about that? Now this character is really, really good, and I don't know why I don't have him higher on this list that I made. They could be in B tier, but for now I have to put them in C because I think they just get janked. And that's Falcon. I think Falcon gets janked. I think his Nair is okay. But he doesn't have an X factor. He's got tech chasing. He's got a good Nair and neutral. But I feel like he can just get poked out by every character. Even like mid-tiers. I think mid-tiers just jank him too much. I think he is fast. He is a very flashy character. He can do his like weak Nair off stage, the up air combo stuff. That's really, really cool and like play that way. But I think Donkey Kong has a fair shot of going even against you. I think like Ganon can do just fine on Yoshi's. I think he's a very predictable character with his Nairs. His grab game is really, really good, but it's really stubby. And if you can predict it, I don't know why I couldn't see like a Luigi doing just fine against you or a Doc doing just fine against you. And I think when you figure out how a Falcon plays and you figure out how to get out of his advantage, he does fall off as a character, and that's why you don't see, and like that's why you see a lot of Falcon representation in like the top like 20, because he does have a lot of like representation of being flashy, but he just doesn't have that X factor that just makes him a little better or a little more broken than the next. His down tilt's really good. His tilts are all his tilts are really good. All his arrows are really good. They all combo into each other. His grab game is really, really good, but he again just doesn't have that X factor, and that's why I'm putting him here. Now the next character, for the sake of argument, I have to put this. I have to say this, and that's that this character is overrepresented because of overexposure to being surrounded by a player who's hated a lot, and I think that's Puff. HBox is the only Puff doing it at a top level. You can argue Toussaint, whatever, all those the Puffs. I don't care. This character is... It could be broken based on ledge grab limit and stalling tactics, but I think if a Puff's on ledge, like, she kind of has to either give it up with, like, fair and you win the trade, or you force something and Puff's... I don't know. Her neutral just is so predictable, and yes, you'll get hit by it. Everybody will get hit by it, but Puff's specifically practice something that we don't, and that's timing, and that's, like, weeding you out with poking, with back air, hitting your spots on shield that are uncomfortable for you. I don't think she wins that many matchups. I think she does invalidate a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, does invalidate a lot of these characters, invalidates. Ice Climbers. Could invalidate Samus, I could be argued into that. She doesn't have she honestly doesn't do that well into some mid-tiers, like Young Link, Game & Watch Link. Even Gandalf is fine. That's maybe like a 6-4. I don't know about Donkey Kong. I think the punch game of Donkey Kong is just not there. Yeah, very polarizing with the mid-tiers. Either hard beats them or maybe slightly loses or just goes even with them. And again, the lead grab limit stuff is is so fragile in validity for its argument and how much it's implemented that there's no reason to put her higher. And I think HBox doing well is just because he's played for so long, knows how to beat Puff, and people just don't know how to beat Puff in general because there's no Puffs that play properly. And a lot of Puffs don't lab as nearly as a Marth does, as nearly as a Falco does, as nearly as a Peach does, as nearly as a Yoshi does, or a Samus or a Doc or whatever. So I think Puff could be a lot higher, but for right now I have to put her here. Now, this is going to sound kind of weird because I've been talking about this character a lot, but I will put Sheik next, and I put Sheik here because at a top level, at the meta being pushed as far as it can, I don't think Sheik has many advantages that other characters don't have against her as she does against them. She does invalidate a lot of low tiers. What? Pikachu, Link, Young Link, Ganon, Mewtwo, Roy, probably Donkey Kong, Falcon. But I don't think these losing matchups make up for the fact that she does probably lose against a lot of characters at higher level. Like, she arguably does pretty bad into Fox. She might beat Marth. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that one. She's probably even against Falco. Probably does do well into Yoshi. And I might be biased for this, but this is going to spoil it. But I will put Yoshi next. The reason I have Yoshi next is because Yoshi, I feel like, can be pushed farther than Sheik can. I think Sheik's kind of at her limit with what she can do with her character in the meta, and Yoshi still has a long way to go. And I do have faith in Yoshi. I'm a Yoshi believer, personally. I think his double jump stuff is so good. And Sheik and Yoshi kind of beat all of the characters kind of the same, in my opinion. But if Sheik beats a character 7-3 and is capped, and Yoshi beats them like 65-35, but Yoshi has more ways to go, I think in the long run, Yoshi's probably a better character than Sheik. You can quote me on saying that. I don't care. That's I don't think that's a strange stick to have. And I think Yoshi's really, really good. His super armor stuff is crazy broken. Double jump canceling is the reason I have Ness over Ganon, the reason I have Ness over Zelda or Pichu or whatever. I think his double jump stuff is so broken. And for later, you'll see why I also think that's broken. But I would put Yoshi here. He's a very, very anti-character character. He arguably beats Marth, arguably beats Falco, arguably beats like a lot of characters. And I think his bad matchups being like basically just Fox is and Sheik, I guess, are fine enough to put him at 5th. Characters below you can beat you, but I don't think enough characters beat Yoshi at a high enough level as they do Sheik, and that's why I'm putting Yoshi above Sheik, in my opinion. The next character I want to put up here is Falco. Falco is a character that is so relatively amazing based on your exposure to practice. Falco could be higher. I think it could be as high as 1. He's just not pushed properly enough, and I think when you play against a Falco, you'll see them. They have like a lot of spacey practice. They have a lot of Fox Falco practice. They have a lot of Falco practice. A lot of Marth practice, and they don't have practice in the mid tiers that kind of can just like gimmick and cheese their way in to win. Like Donkey Kong can, Luigi can, Pikachu can, Samus can, Dr. Mario definitely can, Ice Climbers of course, Falcon, and they can really cheese Falcos, and that's why I think Falco's not very good right now. If Falco's practiced and lab more against the mid tiers, I think he would be good. But for right now, I think Bird Brain will keep him in 4th on my tier list. Now to talk about a character that does invalidate or isn't validated, this is kind of a touchy subject because I think Peach is 3rd on my tier list. Peach as a character is very floaty, can invalidate a lot of characters like Ice Climbers, Pikachu, Luigi in my opinion, Donkey Kong, like pretty much all these characters right down here. Maybe you could make an argument for Link. Maybe young Link. Ganon? No. I struggle. And her turn up is she has the best projectile in the game. It is broken. Her flow cancel stuff, her grab game, her smash, well, not her smash attacks, but her down smash is insane. Her down tilt's really, really strong. Her jab is frame 2. It is so fast. People say she has a losing matchup into Puff. I don't care. I don't think that matchup's that bad. I think at worst, it's 65-35. And even then, I think that's a stretch. I would argue it's probably 55-45, maybe 6-4. I'm a Peach believer, of course. It could, at as high as 50-50 for Peach into Puff, I think. She also probably does do 50-50 into, like, Marth. In my opinion, you'll see Laud do well into Zane. I think Polish could beat Zane. And I don't think there's a character like we as a community do not have a Jmook for our Peach. We don't have a Zane for our Peach yet. We did have Armada, and he was so dominant. I think Armada just didn't push the character to being as technical on shield pressure, learning the setups properly enough. He did have very good setups on a disadvantaged player, and his neutral was very, very good, but I don't think his pressure was very, very good. I think that could have been stronger. I think full canceling stuff can still be utilized. She does have a lot of shield break setups that you can confirm do. If they hold their shield, they should be dead. Her nair loops are insane. Her up air strings are crazy. Her chain grabs are so easy to do. Her dash attack is broken. Her crouch cancel game is ridiculous. Her out of shield game is alright. Her off stage game is pretty bad. But if her neutral is bad, if her neutral is bad, or if her neutral is good enough and her punish game is good enough and her pressure game is good enough, having one bad area is fine. Having one bad area is fine. Her nair out of shield is really, really good. Her nair in general is just really, really good. And I think that's fine enough for her to land 3rd on my tier list. I don't think she has a really bad, awful matchup into anybody, in my opinion. You can argue that all you want. I don't care. Now for 2nd, this shouldn't come as a controversy. It could be if you're a believer, but I'm not yet. And that's Marth being 1st. What can I say about Marth? I don't think he has a losing matchup in the game. You could argue he has some funny matchups into like Yoshi. Maybe he beats, or maybe Yoshi beats him. Maybe Pikachu beats him. Maybe Link beats him. Maybe Sheik beats him. Who cares? I think it's 50-50, and I think you're just screaming it's a losing matchup. Everybody already knows he got chain grabs, he's got tech chases, he's got setups on setups on setups. The fact that your move gets longer for spacing, like you're getting rewarded for keeping a character away, is ridiculous. I get it. That's like if that's your character, that should have been a gimmick on Link. That should have been a gimmick on young Link. That should have been a gimmick on Samus, who's like a projectile character. That shouldn't be a gimmick on Marth, whose sword reaches so far, is so close to him, is so disjointed. That is ridiculous. I could understand if like Mewtwo's tail had like the whip effect, where like the farther you whip, the farther away you are, the more damage you do. I could understand that. I don't get it on Marth. That is such a crazy detail that people don't really fully process properly. That makes me think that this character is just broken. This character is so good. Oh, he's not broken. Obviously, you can beat him if you're good enough. You can pressure him. His out of shield is like all right. He can what? Wave dash? Well, his movement's actually really good. His dash dance as a mate is probably the best in the game. It's probably the best in the game. Just with how low it goes, it's probably the best in the game. Yeah, his combo game, his matchup spread, I don't think he has anything worse than a 55-45 against anybody. And most of the matchups that he does have are like 50-50s. Yeah, that's all I can say about him. And then, of course, the best character in the game is Fox. I do think this is subject to change. I'm not a believer that it's permanent. I just see the foreseeable future. Fox is the first. I don't know who could beat him. I do think characters that aren't utilized yet could beat him. I think Marth, maybe Peach could, if they figured out how to be fine with the other matchups. Falco could do it. Yoshi could do it. I don't think Sheik could beat Fox for the #1 spot. Maybe Puff I could see. And that's about it. But the fact that you have to argue against him being first should be enough reason to realize that his movement, his speed, his punish game, his pressure, his playstyle differences, his lasers, his camping, his stage, his counterpicking is nothing less than just like you're trying to find a way when you're talking about Fox, how do you beat him? Even Marth doesn't really beat him. I think it's even. I think it's fine. And he does invalidate like a lot of top tiers. Like he does well, not really invalidate, but he does make their life like hell. Sheik, he makes hell. Yoshi makes hell. Peachy makes hell. Falcon for a good chunk is hell. Let's see. Mario kinda, and then like all these characters. These characters, Donkey Kong, Pikachu, Samus, Doc, they kind of have started to learn how to not beat Fox, but go like even into Fox. And that's why I see Axe doing so well, because like over-saturation to Fox will make you better at Fox. But if you were to take 10 of each character into a tournament, I'm sure Fox would probably still land in like top 3, top 1 of placements. His spread is so good, has no losing matchups, same with Marth in my opinion. Yeah, there's not much I can say. Up tilt's broken, down tilt's broken, and as a Fox, it's not like you have one good option. Like if you're on a platform as Peach, you can just down smash, and that's a great option. As Fox, if you're approaching a neutral, you can down tilt, you can grab, you can do shine grab, you can do like drill, you can do nair, you can land behind them, you can do a weak hit back air. Fox has so many options that I struggle to see why he's not the best character in the game. And I don't really talk about much more about it. I think that's just how my tier list looks right now. This could be subject to change. I could see Yoshi as high as like 3rd, honestly. I could see Peach as high as like 1. I could see Donkey Kong moving up here. I could see Luigi moving down here. I would say every single placement could be moved around at least like 3 spots, probably. Yeah, like 3 spots. I could see Pikachu like maybe here if there's something that Kirby's learn. Or sorry, I could see Kirby being higher if I see something that Kirby's learn. I can see Bowser being a little higher if Bowser's learn, I guess. No, maybe not really. Yeah, like 2 or 3 spots I would say everybody can kind of shift around. A within here is also fine. I don't think Doc can be any lower than this. I'm pretty confident in set in stone saying like Doc is solid against like against the matchup spread reasoning. Doc is not in D. His matchup spread is too good to make him any lower than C. Same with kind of Ice Climber, same with kind of Falcon. I could see Falcon being higher, honestly. Falcon's the only one in this tier I could see being higher. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my rambling. That's my reasoning. And if you disagree with it, you can let me know. And you can show me your tier list and be like, oh, this is why I like this character more. This is why this character is better. But yeah, that's kind of it. So, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm signing out. Okay. Peace out.